Whew. Sorry, didn't see you there. I'm Cambridge English teacher Rory, or Cambridge Rory, from studentlanguages.com, and in today's video I have something slightly different for you. I teamed up with my friend Chris from Futuresay. It's an English language school based in Moscow, in Russia. I work with those guys, and in this video you will see us doing a webinar together where we're talking about how to learn English efficiently by watching television series, and we talk about some films as well. We give some suggestions about what films may be good to watch, what TV series may be good to watch to improve your English, and we also talk about how to go about watching these. We give some really useful techniques that you can apply when you're watching television series and films in order to benefit in the best way and improve your English language at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do enjoy it, please give the video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the bell notification. That'll help my channel grow. If you have any comments, feel free to write a comment below. Okay, so I've just finished editing the video and I thought I'd come back to quickly tell you that there is loads and loads of intermediate and advanced vocabulary, phrases, idioms, phrasal verbs in here. So make sure you've got a pen and a piece of paper ready to write some of these down. I will put some up at the bottom of the screen for you as we go through. Okay, see you at the end.
Hey, here we have Rory.
Hello, hi Chris. Hi everybody.
Hey, good to see you, Rory. So we'll just give a couple of minutes for people to join us. So I'll just introduce myself and Rory briefly. Some of you may not have really seen us before. Some Futuresay students who've had other teachers. So yeah, my name's Chris and I've been teaching mostly in Moscow for the last few years, and also now trying to do some interesting online content for Futuresay. So we're trying to kind of make some things that people will find interesting, want to engage with, and that we can kind of chat about. And we realized that we both like to kind of watch some serials sometimes, and especially that our students often ask us, people have said in TV shows, serials, and you know, it's a nice way to actually kind of get more exposure to English in your free time and in between your lessons. So we thought it would be a good thing to talk about. So Rory, what you teach a real like mix of international students, don't you? I think, you know, I mostly teach Russians. It's probably mostly going to be Russians here today. We might have a Ukrainian or or two, but yeah, do you think it differs? Do you think foreigners tend to watch different series to the ones that we perhaps watch as native speakers?
It's a good question. I think with Netflix, and I think those things make it easier for us to watch the same things as people in other countries. Although I think they do tailor them a little bit, the programs that they show to people in other countries. I think generally we probably watch a lot of the same series nowadays, a lot of American series, but personally I watch quite a lot of old and like traditionally classic British English television series, I guess.
Yeah. So perhaps our kind of childhood and what we've grown up with are kind of old favorites that we might watch again and again. Exactly. Whereas perhaps our Netflix people are mainly watching like brand new series that are just coming out. Perhaps we're not as kind of up with the trends anymore.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that I think certain series seem to do really well abroad, or particularly well in some countries. So like I would say in Russia, like Doctor Who is very popular. A lot of people watch Doctor Who, and again, that's something that I watch occasionally, but I haven't watched like every episode. So some of my students have like a really detailed knowledge about Doctor Who, and I need to ask them questions really about it.
Do you know which doctor or like which version they watch? Because there are quite a lot of different actors who played the doctors, and they all have
I think
quite useful way to learn and hear different.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I suppose you've got one character, the doctor's character, I suppose changes a bit, doesn't it? But in essence, it's a similar character with different actors. So I think it's probably only the more recent ones. I don't know when they started to remake them. Was it like in the late 2000s or early 2010?
Yeah.
So so Christopher Eccleston is well known.
He was like the first of the new set of doctors, I think, that I remember.
Yeah,
they had a break for a while. David Tennant was another one. He was
David Tennant. Yeah, exactly. He was a very, very powerful one, I think, and he's perhaps become more well known now in other series because of that. He's also,
I think they've picked up that he's got a really good voice, because I've seen he's narrated a few nature programs and things like that now. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything like that, but again, that is a good example. We're going to talk a bit later about different accents, and David Tennant is an interesting example because he's Scottish and he has a Scottish accent, but it's a very clear accent, isn't it? It's very easy to understand. Yeah,
it is clear and quite soothing. I find often with nature programs, actually, it tends to be quite a soothing voice, like David Attenborough. It's like the sort of person you can just fall asleep to watching.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not kind of stressful, nice way to relax. Don't know if that's better or worse for learning English, though. Maybe you want somebody who keeps you awake, keeps you on your toes all the time. So we'll see about that. So, I thought we'd start off by just sharing a few of our favourite serials, and later maybe some of the guys attending can share some of their own ideas. So Rory, why don't you start off? What's one of your favourite shows that you can watch kind of again and again?
Probably the TV show that I've watched the most, I would say, and I can just continue watching it all the time, is Friends. It's quite popular around the world, I think.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
How many episodes are there as well? How many series did they make?
I think they made 10 series, about 20 episodes each, maybe, so about 200.
Right.
220, 240 episodes. I don't know how popular it is in Russia. Do you have any Russian students who watch it? Do you know?
There you go. Tanya said that it's her favorite. So I can actually tell you, I haven't been, but again, maybe someone in the chat has been. There's a Friends cafe in Moscow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a couple of photos. I think the idea is that it's decorated and kind of decked out to look very similar to their flat or perhaps to the cafe from Friends. But yeah, it's very widely watched, and they even have this cafe as a kind of homage to
it's fun,
and it's a popular place to go, and I think popular place to be seen, a good place to get an Instagram photo. Friends is really popular.
When I was about 19, I went traveling around Southeast Asia, and one of the countries I went to, I say it Lao, but I think some people pronounce it like Laos. I don't know what it would be in Russian, but anyway, there was a few places they had there which were 24-hour, like a sort of bar restaurant type place. And it would just play Friends constantly, just never-ending Friends, 24/7. Amazing.
And how long did you spend there?
I think I made about 20 episodes. No, I don't know. I don't know how long I stayed in the restaurant. Probably a couple hours. But in the country, I was there for 3 weeks, but I moved around quite a lot. So.
Okay. But it was one of these places where you could kind of have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and go for a drink, or all inclusive.
All inclusive.
That reminds me of the film, which is Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Which has I don't know. Did the phrase come from the film, or was there a phrase before the film? I don't know which came first there.
I'm not sure, but I know it's a good film. I like Bill Murray.
Yeah, yeah. So Bill Murray, and again with accents, Bill Murray is a good example of what you might call almost like a transatlantic accent. I would say he has like an American accent, but not a very strong one. So if you want to go for a neutral accent, I would say Bill Murray. Bill Murray is not a bad one to try to copy. But yeah, if for the guys working in that cafe with friends, just constantly repeating, I don't know, it might make you a little bit crazy after a while.
Yeah, I don't. I think maybe I'd last a few days and then I'd just be like, oh, just
Well, that'd be okay, wouldn't it? A couple of weeks, you'd see every episode, but it's like, probably after 2 weeks, you'd start repeating. So maybe it's enough.
There was another one which played The Simpsons all the time.
So yeah, cult following. I once went to a Simpsons quiz where it was all about the Simpsons, and prior to attending, I had thought that I knew quite a lot about the Simpsons. I've seen all the episodes, but yeah, at this quiz there were some real diehard Simpsons fans, and there were some very difficult questions. And it turns out I'm not as much of an expert as I thought I was. So let's show our first clip. So you've chosen this first one, Rory. I'm gonna show this in a minute, but perhaps you could give us a little introduction to this show, classic slut show. Everybody in England knows this one.
Yeah. So the name of the TV show is Only Fools and Horses, and it's with quite a famous, but it's quite an old television show, probably like 30 years old now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, was it even in the 80s, made 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s?
It's hard to keep up 2020 already. But yeah, I think probably 80s. And anyway, there's a famous actor called David Jason, Sir David Jason, actually. He's been knighted now, I think. I'm not even sure if he's still alive, actually.
I'm not sure either, but yeah, again, we could call him like a household name. It's like everybody knows this guy.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah. And he's the main character, and his brother is the other main character, and they're a couple of Londoners. So there's quite a lot of the way they speak is probably. Are you from London originally, Chris?
I am, yeah. I'm born and bred Londoner. Although my family are all from the north of England, so I don't know. I do have a bit of an odd mix, and I wouldn't say I'm a Cockney. I think a lot of people in Russia think that everybody from London is a Cockney.
Yeah.
I'm not quite a Cockney, although I can do a Cockney accent.
Yeah. Well, these guys are. Can you? You can do a Cockney accent. Nice. It's,
yeah. How's your father? A few key phrases like that.
So the guys in Only Fools and Horses, they're what you call like a bit of an old boy character. They go around doing odd jobs basically to earn a living. Sometimes they're decorating. Sometimes they are picking up a supply of food and dropping it off somewhere. Just random, sporadical things that they do. And it's a comedy, so every episode is slightly different, and they normally end up getting into trouble in some way or other, or causing some sort of problem. And I won't talk too much more about it. We can see if you can show the clip.
Yeah, okay, I'll try and show this one. So I think odd jobs is a great phrase as well. Like to do an odd job, it means, so you're kind of doing different things. Every day could be a bit different, and I suppose this is their problem, that they're what we might call as well like a jack of all trades but master of none. So they can kind of do a little bit of lots of different jobs, but it turns out they're not very good at any of them in particular. And yeah, comedy ensues. Okay, so let me try and share this one. So guys, make sure, I'm going to share my screen. You should be able to see the video, and the sounds should come through as well. So make sure your sound is on. Might be a little bit quieter when I share this, but let's see this. Okay, so Okay, guys. Hope that one worked for you. Could you see it there, Rory?
Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I
So
also already know what's happening, so maybe it makes it easier for me to understand. But,
yeah, so I think it's a really good example as well, because actually what they're talking about at the start is really hard to understand. Like, they're talking about these technical things about like different bits and pieces for the chandelier and like tools. So, you know, even I didn't understand all of those words that they're talking about. I mean, I just know it's something about like a piece of metal. But yeah, and they even they use some French phrase, which I wasn't familiar with. What did you catch that?
Eau de jour. I think he says something like eau de jour, but I don't actually know what it means. But yeah, he does say something in French. He often tries to speak in other languages and fails miserably most of the time.
Yeah, so he often tries to seem like quite cultured, use a bit of French or Italian or something, or Latin. But yeah, I think it's a good example though, because it's such a visual comedy that you don't actually have to understand or pick up every phrase, every word they say. You're still going to get the main idea and get the jokes, because you can kind of see everything happening. Nice examples, of like a kind of Cockney accent. So there's a couple of things there that I thought were very kind of Cockney, and especially for Russians. Did anybody hear when he used a double negative? Did you catch that bit, Rory?
Yeah, I heard it. Did he say don't do nothing for nobody or something like that?
Don't you touch nothing.
Don't you touch nothing.
Don't you touch nothing. So of course you should, grammatically, you should say don't touch anything. But you know, it's a good example of this kind of common small grammatical mistakes that are kind of really as dialects. I think most people who make those mistakes perhaps do know that it's technically not correct, but it's just part of like the local accent, part of the local dialect. And what do Cockneys do with their H's?
Yeah. Does anyone know? Is that a question to the audience?
Yeah, guys, what about you? Did you notice how they pronounce words like he said, I want to go home. He said it's not a holiday, but they do something funny with these words with
having
H sound. Yeah, having. You're having a good time. You're having fun.
Listen here, I think he says. So
yeah, they always we call it like to drop your H's, so they kind of don't pronounce it at all. He said it's not an holiday, not holiday, but holiday.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I want to go home. So that's a very common thing, and actually that's not just Cockney, it's not just London, but in a lot of different regional accents, people kind of tend to drop the H's off a little bit.
Having a laugh. Listen here.
Yeah.
Listen here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of part of that process of joining words together almost, isn't it? Try to make everything a bit shorter and a bit quicker.
People do that here where I am as well, about in a place called Peterborough, which is a couple of hour drive north of London, and people drop their H's a bit here, and they also drop their T's like he did. Did you pick up on that, Chris? I think he was saying like right something.
Yeah, and like, so all these words, like very common words like saying what, people just say what are you doing? Mate. Yeah, exactly. Not mate, but mate. So yeah, that's quite common, and it's one of the things that you sometimes see where sometimes students speak in a very kind of accurate, very careful style of English. And one of the reasons why I think, especially to people who aren't teachers, sometimes that can sound a bit odd to kind of members of the public, because it's so common now to kind of drop some parts of the word, not to really strongly pronounce every consonant. And so like I think these kind of slight regional accents and what we might call a grammatical mistake but it's almost part of a dialect. That's become more acceptable. I think perhaps 40 or 50 years ago, people tried really hard to speak this kind of received pronunciation, BBC English. And nowadays, actually, it's much more acceptable to kind of speak in your most natural way, the way that people speak in your area.
Yeah, spoken English has crept into writing quite a lot as well now, I've noticed.
Yeah, definitely. So I think sometimes you see in textbooks, it'll say like, this is for writing and this is for spoken English, or like, yeah. And I often think, well, that barrier has kind of disappeared a bit now, and there's not so much difference. Whole language is becoming slightly more informal, which is perhaps related to stuff like class system. You know, the class system is not as strict, as rigid or obvious as it was before.
Yeah.
What's Phil say? Okay. Phil recommends Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. So yeah, if you want to hear Cockney, that's definitely a good one. Or Snatch. That's one of my favourites as well. Also,
I can't understand Brad Pitt in Snatch.
What accent does he have? What accent?
He's supposed to be Irish, I think. He's supposed to be playing an Irish guy. I can't understand what he's saying at all. Like,
he's a gypsy, isn't it? It's like an Irish gypsy.
Yeah, Irish gypsy.
That might be why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really difficult to understand. Lock, Stock, I remember a bit. I think there was a character in it called Rory, maybe, funnily enough.
Yeah, I think there is. One of the drug dealers.
Yeah.
Relative of yours.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, long lost relative. Yeah, what was it? But yeah, that's why it's so, like, I think watching that type of program, for example, Only Fools and Horses, it's so useful actually for when you do go and live in these countries, and it's also sort of brings home the point that it's really useful to practice speaking as much as you can and listening to different contexts, because as we're saying, the way you would read something in a book with every individual word isn't necessarily the way it's spoken. So you have to try and use those, or use everything, use all these different materials, but practice using them in real settings if you can.
Yeah, and I think also just like the stress is on the word. So, you know, I sometimes see people saying stuff like holiday, I have a holiday.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the way he says it, it's not even day, it's like D, holiday.
Yeah.
And that's quite common, isn't it? A lot of people say that.
Yeah. Another one that I noticed actually when he was saying that is, he doesn't say you, he says ya, don't ya. Like that.
Yeah, as well, like ye. Some people even say stuff like, do you need that?
Brace yourself.
Yeah,
brace
exactly.
Yourself. It's there's a couple of quite good phrasal verbs in there actually.
Yeah, I was about to come on to that. Which one did you pick up on?
Got the one that stood out, I think he said a couple of times, don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Don't let me down.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
So, that's a good one. Guys, in chat, come on, we want some, what are your opinions, or what didn't you understand? Does anybody know this phrasal verb? To let someone down?
The song as well, I think, was it the Beatles who did that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a classic song. So does anyone know this? To let down. You can feel let down, or you might let someone else down. In a physical sense, they're trying to let down the chandelier, actually, like in the most literal sense. To do something sneaky. Not exactly. Well, you might do something sneaky, but it's more like the effect that it would have on someone else, I think. To discourage? No, not quite discourage. He's saying, don't let me down, like don't.
Yeah, I think Bellboy is saying it to Rodney. He's saying, don't let me down, Rodney, don't let me down. When they're holding the sheet under the chandelier. Yeah.
So I would say that to let down usually means like, don't disappoint me, or don't kind of, I'm relying on you. I've asked you to do something, or I'm relying on you. So here Timur has written, something keep to their word. Yeah. So if you promise something and then you don't do it, or somebody expects you to do something and you don't do it, or you fail, then you've let them down. And it's a good one actually about, I think also for films, you might be really excited about a film, and then you go to see it and actually it's not so good, or you know the acting was bad, and you can say, yeah, it was a letdown.
Yeah.
I had really high hopes, really high expectations. It wasn't so good.
And if it's really disappointing, you say it was a real letdown.
A real letdown, yeah. You know, just like most of the Star Wars films, I would say.
Yeah.
Always disappointing.
Yeah.
Which film, Tatiana? Which film? Well, we talked about Lock, Stock. What else did we mention?
Maybe she's talking about Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah. Okay. So the program series is known as Only Fools and Horses. Okay. So time's ticking on. So I'm going to show another clip now from a series that I like to watch with my students. And again, I think it's got a lot of good phrasal verbs, and it's set in an office. And I think that there's a lot of the day-to-day words and common phrases that are useful. So I'm going to share one more. Okay, so I always think it's when people are worried about job interviews, I always send them that clip and I say it can't go any worse than that, really.
What was that from, Chris?
So that's from the IT Crowd, is the name of the series. And yeah,
Funny.
not too many. I think there are only about 20 episodes. Didn't make a lot of them, but the quality is high. I think all of them are pretty funny.
I can see why you chose that clip. Lots of useful stuff in there. It's pretty funny as well, just staring at the staring at.
Yeah, there's nothing more intimidating, scary than when someone's just staring at you and you're kind of under pressure like that. So yeah, a couple of really good phrases in there. You know, he says like, I'm sizing you up. I'm trying to size you up with this stare. And I don't know, how do you size someone up, Rory? How can you size up a character?
Well, I have to sort of size up a lot of my students in a way, because
True.
a lot of my students want to pass an exam, and so I need to see how close are they to that level. So I normally size them up through some type of speaking assessment firstly, and then we do it.
Yeah, good point. No, that's definitely a good example of sizing someone up. So yeah, it obviously comes initially from to size, like to measure something, maybe with a tape. So you're trying to see what something is like, what shape it is, or what height it is. So yeah, when we say to size someone up, you need to kind of try to understand them, understand what they want, or what their level is, or something like that, what their motives are. And yeah, to make up your mind, I think that's a really good one, because I often hear people use different phrases like decide what you want to do, choose the option, and it's actually a very good phrase in spoken English. You say, okay, let's make up our minds, or like, please make up your mind. So just decide what you want to do.
Yeah, it is a good one, that, to make up your mind. Sometimes it's difficult to make up our minds. Depends on the context.
Exactly, and we often say, I need some time. I need a bit more time to make up my mind. That's another good comment to have.
I thought I also heard maybe getting to grips in there, unless I just made that up. There's another expression.
Yeah, another phrasal verb. Yeah, I think he did say to get to grips.
Getting to grips with, I can't remember.
Computers, or the new team, the IT team, that he said.
Yeah, maybe getting to grips with the work situation, I guess, understanding it.
Yeah. So to grip, does anybody know this verb, to grip something? It's funny because in Russian, grip, very similar, it means flu. So everyone's talking about grip at the moment.
Oh, really?
But but grip in English is a bit different. Yeah.
Grip. I don't know any Russian really. I only know how to lose it.
There you go. Guys can teach you a bit probably. Okay, Timur knows how to lose a grip. What do you mean, Timur, when you're losing grip?
Losing a grip on something. Interesting. If Timur means how I think, it's not a very common phrase. It's quite a good phrase to know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. To like, or kind of go a bit crazy sometimes. I think.
Or to lose control as well. Yeah. Oh, there we go. To lose control. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a good phrase. And yeah, in movies, grip, isn't it like, isn't it the job? Like basically the guy who has to hold the sound thing all the time or something, or yeah, I think it's like a bit like a runner. Avril Lavigne, there you go. That's another good way to learn. Listen to some songs. So guys, I thought we'd just ask as well, like what serials do you watch? Do you have any favorites that you watch again and again? Has anyone been watching anything recently, something new, perhaps? Yeah, as Rory said, me and him are slightly old-fashioned. Maybe we're like watching some of the old ones from the 1990s and stuff. So guys, write in chat, like what do you like to watch? What are your favorites? What's something new that you've started watching?
Black Books.
Black Books.
I haven't seen Black Books. Have you seen Black Books, Chris?
I have, yeah. It's got Dylan Moran. I don't know if you know that comedian. He's like the main guy in that one. I think
is he English, Dylan Moran?
He's clearly originally Irish. I don't know if, obviously there's a lot of people in England are half Irish or have some Irish blood and Irish names and stuff.
As am I.
Well, there you go. So I don't know, like Dylan Moran, it's a very Irish name. I don't know if he was actually born in Ireland. How Irish are you, Rory? Have you still got some family there?
No, not anymore. My grandmother was Irish, so my father's half Irish. I'm Irish enough to have a passport, which is quite nice.
Oh, nice. Very useful at the moment.
Yeah, very useful. Very useful. But I haven't been there since I was a baby, so I'd really like to go back, travel around.
Yeah, I went on what you might call a booze cruise to Dublin, and we were only there for about 2 days, and visited the Guinness Brewery. Went to a few pubs. I had a great time, but I can't remember too many details, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, sounds like an authentically Irish trip then.
Yeah, ticking some stereotypical boxes there. So I'm going to show another clip a bit later, actually, with some Irish accents in. What else have we got here? Wormwood, House MD. Okay, yeah, House. I've watched a bit of that. Wormwood. I haven't seen that or heard of that. Do you know that one, Rory?
I don't know Wormwood. And it is House MD. Is that House as in House the Doctor?
Dr. House, yeah.
Hugh Laurie. Fargo. I only know the film, which is a Coen Brothers film. Like 50
there was
series.
Yeah, they made a couple of series. It's kind of the same concept. Like it was about small town police, like a small town police department, and usually there's some kind of big or unusual crime that's like more than they're used to handling. But yeah, I would really recommend that. I've watched those series. They're very good. True
Detective. It's cool, but difficult to understand. Yeah, it's quite dark. True Detective. It's I can understand why it's difficult to understand as well without subtitles. Worth having a chat about that a bit later, maybe as well.
Yeah, exactly. True Detective, and that's interesting because there's each. I've watched. Oh God, have I watched all of them? No, I don't think I have. I've certainly watched all of the first series, and yeah, great show. Like you said, quite dark, quite graphic sometimes. And I think it's set in Louisiana, and yeah, they have some quite specific accents there. And yeah, and even for me, I don't know if Americans have this, but as a British guy, I sometimes find they really like mumble a lot. I mean, is that just the accent, or is that like the style of delivery, or what? But sometimes in shows like that, I mean, the guys are almost like covering their mouths or holding their mouths, and oh yeah, I don't know about that. And I don't know. Sometimes I really struggle. Do you think that's an accent thing, or do you think that's genuinely about your?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it could be a combination of the two. Maybe they're playing down their accent or speaking in a way which is more difficult to understand because they're playing a certain character, could be in these films and television series. But yeah, there's so much variety in America with people's accents. Some I find quite open, those southern accents, and I find them quite sort of, I can't really.
Yeah, like this drawl, like this long, I don't know, it sounds like they're chewing a piece of corn or something all the time. But maybe to Russians, there's no difference because Russians sometimes say that English people sound like they're talking with a potato in their mouth.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that expression before, which I don't know. I don't feel like I have a potato in my mouth, but maybe that's what it sounds to other people.
There is a YouTube video, I think, called like listening to English conversation, and no one says a real word. It's just that kind of thing, and it's supposed to sound what English sounds like to people from other countries. So.
Yeah, I think I have seen that. Yes, it's made up words, but it still does sound kind of like English. Yeah. A couple of other suggestions here. Normal People. Yeah, I have heard about that one. That's a new one. I've not seen it, but yeah, also heard good things about that. Black Mirror. Black Mirror is really popular in Russia. That's what I mean. Russians love like dark stuff. Like they love dystopian stuff like that.
Black Mirror. I think I've seen most of the Black Mirrors. Maybe not all of them. Enjoyable because there's an element of could it be true in.
Yeah, I mean, close to the bone is how I describe some of them. Some of them are like pretty close to reality, and that's why it's scary, I suppose. Yeah,
I think Sherlock's probably quite a good one to watch. The BBC television series, Benedict Cumberbatch. He's got quite a sort of neutral British accent.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty, little cartoon.
Yeah, I think Rick and Morty is very. I think they speak very clearly, actually. I think that's a very clear accent, so I think that's a good one.
Watching like cartoons and children's television is actually a really good way to learn, I think, because they speak in a way.
You've got this so visual as well. You can kind of see everything that's happening. There's rarely too much stuff discussed, which isn't also being shown on the screen immediately or soon after. Yeah, we've got some good suggestions here. Obviously, keen TV watchers, maybe everyone.
I haven't watched Years and Years. I've heard about it. I think my mother maybe was a big fan of Years and Years. I'm not sure.
There you go. That's praise indeed.
Sure is. She recommended it to me, I think, but I don't think I got around to watching it. That probably is a good time to watch things now in this sort of isolation period.
Plenty of time. Yeah, plenty of time. So I think I'll just show one clip later. But perhaps we should talk about how to actually get the most in terms of learning English from watching stuff, because I suppose if you just watch it in the background, I mean, perhaps it does help passively to pick up a few words or improve your accent slightly, but I think you do need to actually put some kind of effort in to really get the most out of stuff like this. And especially if you watch something and you struggle a bit to understand stuff, I don't think that means that you should give up. I think you should use that, you know, perhaps you've watched a show in your native language and really enjoyed it, and then you try and watch it in English and you find it quite difficult. I think that you should see that as a challenge and think, oh, okay, like I want to raise my English to the level that I can understand this show quite well. And yeah, why not use that TV show as a kind of method, but kind of really upping your level, upping your vocab and stuff.
Definitely. So, I think already seeing positive signs of the fact there are students out there watching us talking and doing this right now obviously shows that they're motivated and they want to learn, which is a great starting point already. I'd be interested to know whether they could understand everything we've been saying in this talk.
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely try to use fewer phrasal verbs and stuff when I'm talking with students, where it depends on their level. And also I found in Russia sometimes I stop using so many perfect tenses, again, because it can be quite difficult. But yeah, when I'm talking to another native speaker, I guess you start to just relax and use some more difficult phrases. And also, yeah, that's very true. So, I mean, Rory, what would you say? What are some ways, and what's your opinion on stuff like subtitles and dubbing? What do you think about that?
Sure. Firstly, I agree with what you say. I think there needs to be like a combination of having stuff in the background. Maybe I think the more English you can absorb, the better. So dedicate specific times to when you sit down and concentrate and try to improve and try to learn something. Maybe watching the same scene several times over and over again, a few minutes, which is something that we've talked about before, Chris. I know you've said that's a good recommendation that you give to your students, is watching something over and over again if it's difficult, for example. I think there are also benefits to listening to English. Could even just be listening to audiobooks, for example, while you're doing something else, like while you're cooking or while you're traveling or something, because I think your hearing of the language kind of gets you a bit more used to the flow of it and the intonation and the speed. But in general, and more specifically with watching TV and films, depends on the level of the student, firstly, and it depends on how tired they are, how motivated they're feeling. But if they're sitting down and they want to try and learn English, let's say you've got 30 minutes in a day, one good idea is to watch something you've already seen before, so you have an idea of the context. Then you can really focus more on the language because you already know the idea, you already know the plot, which again, it's like what we said about very visual programs, is you can concentrate more on the specific language with those because you have an idea of what's happening through what you're seeing. I think that subtitles, the ideal situation is that you watch a TV program, you don't need subtitles and you understand everything. But there aren't that many people that can really do that in another language. That should be the kind of end goal, shouldn't it? Yeah. I think that, again, if you choose, there's one good thing about perhaps shorter serials or ones of shorter episodes, because if something's just 20 minutes or half an hour long, you can, perhaps you watched it initially in your own language, and like you said, now you know the story, you know the main events, you know who betrayed who or what the kind of plot twist was, so that won't surprise you. And then I think, you should probably try to watch something without subtitles. And then what you can do sometimes is perhaps turn subtitles on for certain parts. So I think it can be really good to choose like a favorite scene. So, like we've been showing some kind of particularly funny moments, interesting moments from comedy shows. But, any intense or really interesting scene, why not choose just that, like 5 minutes, perhaps maximum 7 or 8 minutes. And so you can watch that again with subtitles, or perhaps you can even find the script. Perhaps you can even find the actual script online. I've done that for a few shows. You can usually find the script, and then really dig deep, we might say, really look into what are the phrasal verbs that people are using, how does somebody respond to something else, what kind of questions or question tags are people using, and kind of take a small segment of a show as like a kind of case study almost. So let's look at the grammar here.
like, you know, did somebody use past perfect? I'm always looking out like, oh look, somebody used past perfect or somebody used past perfect continuous. Because don't have that in Russian, don't have perfect tenses in Russian, and a lot of Russian students find it a bit difficult or find it frustrating, like, do I actually have to use past perfect? So it can be really good to pick out some bits like that, and you understand the whole story, and now you understand why they've used these grammar constructions. You can see the like phrasal verbs in action. So I think sometimes find something you really like, which you're happy to watch maybe 5 times, maybe once in your own language, maybe a couple of times without subtitles, just really listening, and then perhaps you need to watch it with subtitles or look at the script to pick up specific words.
I think.
And then I mean, have you done anything like did you do some like role play sometimes, or perhaps for exams you're often preparing people for these exam interviews, I guess, oral exams?
Yeah, I do. So my exam students, they normally have to talk about a task. Let's say we're comparing the similarities and differences between a couple of pictures, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll normally give them an example, and because I make a lot of YouTube videos, sometimes I put the examples that my students have done on YouTube so that they can learn from each other and see the type of language they use for that specific situation. That's quite specific, I suppose, for passing those exams. I've also done some, what I think is really useful, a little bit separate from TV series. I did a few videos recently where I'm doing dictation exercises. I think dictation is a really good way to learn a language. But of course, there's actually not that many dictations that I could find out there on the internet, unfortunately. But
so when you say dictation, do you mean like reading a text aloud, or?
Exactly. So what I was doing is I was reading a passage which I'd created myself to the video for a YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wrote the passage about a specific part of the exam, so that they were practicing that part of the exam. They're practicing their listening, and in the dictation I put some gaps so that students had to then choose the word to fill those gaps afterwards. So they're testing their grammar, and I say to them, repeat after me so they can practice their pronunciation and all that stuff. So I think that it's a really good way to use lots of different skills. But what I was going to say, even what we were saying earlier about focusing on a short part of a television series, even those clips that we watched earlier, which were only 2 or 3 minutes, there was enough information in there to be able to pick out phrasal verbs, for example, and other language points. So I think that was a really good piece of advice, what you were saying.
So you can kind of almost make your own dictation again, like if you can find the script or copy down what they say, and then you can kind of especially if you have a friend or some other students who you study with, and you could perhaps like reenact one of these scenes, like, okay, I'll be Del Boy, you be Rodney, and a great way to like practice your intonation, practice your pronunciation, stuff like that. So guys, another question for our audience: who are some of your favorite actors and actresses, and also what accents do you find a bit difficult, or perhaps what accents do you like, and what accents do you struggle with a little bit and find hard to understand? So Benedict Cumberbatch, difficult one to say, difficult to pronounce, but I know he's very popular in Russia, and Sherlock, hugely popular. So what actors, what actresses, and which accents do you like, and which ones do you not like so much? Like, feel free to write in the chat, share some of your opinions there.
What about you, Chris? Do you have any favorite actors or actresses?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not one of these people who's like a kind of number one favorite kind of person. I always sit on the fence a little bit. But I was thinking earlier, I saw, or actually I heard on the radio, an interview with Michael Caine, and yeah, Michael Caine has a very distinctive voice, very distinctive accent, and he's been in some great films. But equally, perhaps he doesn't actually pronounce his words that well. Perhaps he doesn't enunciate them so well. But yeah, certainly like his films.
It's a good way to pick up the accent, though. Is it a Cockney accent that Michael Caine has?
I'm not sure if that's what I mean. I think Cockney is a word that's like used too much. I think Cockney is quite specific, but he definitely has a kind of London or just outside London accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's good lines from Michael Caine? Yeah.
Michael Caine.
I only told you to blow the bloody doors off.
Yeah, that's a good impression. That was a good impression.
Is that all right? What else does he say?
Yeah. He does a reading of a poem called "If" by Rudyard Kipling.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, quite enjoyed that reading.
No, is that recent? Did you do that recently? Or?
Yeah, I think he's fairly old in it because his voice started to drop, didn't he? Have you ever watched The Trip with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon?
Yeah, I love that. I'll write that in a chat. That's probably for people who are a bit more advanced.
For people talking. So yeah, Scottish accent is tricky. A lot of my students struggle with the Scottish accent as well. Yeah.
And that's a funny one because perhaps it varies, but I would say that a Glasgow accent is pretty hard to understand. Probably, yeah, even for me and you. But like an Edinburgh accent, like for example, somebody like, I don't know, J.K. Rowling doesn't have a very strong accent, but somebody, yeah, like David Tennant, I think he has more of an Edinburgh lowland accent, and I would say that is fairly easy to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so Timur says that, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, not so easy to understand sometimes.
Yeah,
I think he speaks very quickly in Sherlock. Like, I think to show the fact that Sherlock is such a genius, he speaks really quickly sometimes, and that's perhaps why it's hard.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy, yeah, he's a great actor. I thought he was really good in what's it called, Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, which is also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Sergey is a big fan of Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, I quite like Peaky Blinders as well. Another quite dark program, but it's good, and he is a really good actor. I think Cillian Murphy.
Really good, yeah, and I think that's it's kind of his breakthrough role. I think he wasn't so famous until he was in that.
I'm also a big fan of Jack Nicholson. Alex.
Yeah. Really versatile. I think Jack Nicholson plays, facial expression.
Yeah.
Even if you can't understand what he's saying, you understand what he means.
Yeah. So funny. Like I remember just him having glasses on his head and he raises his eyebrows and they drop down. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Who was Rory? Did you know? God, what was his name? Joe Guyett.
Will Guyett.
Yeah, they were both of them.
Yeah.
So they not quite Brummy. I think they had like Black Country, but Rory and I know a couple of guys who speak a bit like people from Peaky Blinders, and they definitely had distinctive accents, very rich accents. Yeah,
I still speak to Will a lot actually.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, he is.
Good to hear.
Oh, he's grown quite a big beard in the quarantine.
Oh, really?
I think it suits him. I think he looks quite good at it, to be honest.
It's a good time to try these things out.
Exactly. Jack Lemmon, Kevin Spacey. Broken. It's a good
Jack
film.
Lemmon. I don't know Jack Lemmon.
I've got a feeling he's
Alex, who's Jack Lemmon?
I think he might be quite an old actor, but I'm not sure I would definitely be able to picture him. Maybe suggest a few films that he's been in. Jack Lemmon might help me.
Lemmon, yeah. Alex or Alexa, I don't know who this is exactly, but can you tell us a bit about Jack Lemmon? Who's Jack Lemmon? It's a good name, but I don't know this guy.
Broken with Cillian Murphy. I'm not sure if I know that film, but
I've heard of that one. I think it was one of these like slightly indie films that did get good reviews, but just not so widespread.
Because Cillian Murphy, even though he does what I think is a really good accent in Peaky Blinders, he's actually Irish. So I think he has a genuinely quite a thick Irish accent, maybe. In real life.
although yeah, Brummie accent, Birmingham accent, that is an odd accent, and I have definitely read that some people think it might be influenced by Irish, that a lot of workers came from Ireland, and well, certainly that's the case in Liverpool. I know they think the Liverpool accent.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there are similarities between Brummie and Liverpool, I think, in a weird way. I've tried to do impressions before.
That's quite good, yeah. Well, I've come all the way from Birmingham.
All right, mate.
I think, yeah, that rolling of the R's, actually, that is in common, isn't it?
Mm.
Right then, they roll it, and in a Liverpool accent, they do that too.
Yeah.
That's a good one for Russians. The Russians roll their R's all the time. Yeah. In Russian, like a lot of R's are this like. So perhaps it would be better for Russians to learn
Russian,
Brummie English or some kind of Scottish English. Perhaps it would be easier. Oh yeah, Woody Harrelson. He was very good in True Detective. Was he in True Detective? Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, I like Woody Harrelson.
Very versatile, I think. Yeah, versatile.
Yeah.
So this one is with some Irish accents. It's from a television show called Father Ted, which is a quite bizarre, really quite surreal comedy about some priests, guys who work in a church, some priests who live on a small island in Ireland. And they have a lot of adventures, kind of, and funny situations. And in this scene, one of the priests is kind of retired. He's almost like a pensioner. And he's kind of a bit of an alcoholic, or he certainly likes to drink quite a lot. And in this scene, he goes out into the local town, and he's just kind of, I think he's looking for something to do. He's a bit bored, and because he's so old, he has very bad eyesight, so he's almost blind. So we'll see in this clip what happens when a blind alcoholic priest goes out into town. So that one, a bit of stereotypes, I think, about Irish people there. Perhaps it's a little bit unfair, but at least this one character, he enjoys a drink or two. So guys, how did you find the accent in that one? Could you understand most of what was being said, or was it a bit tough?
I don't actually know that many. I had a friend from Northern Ireland at university. I lived with him. That accent, speaking of accents, the Northern Irish one, I remember his I found pretty difficult to understand at times. Just remember this one situation where he got really frustrated with me because I had asked him to repeat something 3 times and he just had enough. I didn't know what this was like. Say again?
They have some very unique phrases. I was playing football with a guy from Northern Ireland. And usually when you're playing football, it's just some very simple words, simple phrases. But this guy kept saying something to me, and I had no idea what it meant. I can't remember what it was now, but it was something weird, like he was saying like hairy or something like that, and he meant like I should pass it to him. But it was like obviously some unique Northern Irish kind of slang or phrase. Yeah. And I was sort of, what on earth are you talking about? What do you want me to do here? Just a good example of how it can be hard to understand someone even in the same language.
When I was little, I was in a car with my grandmother, and we were in a queue. There was a queue of cars. I think we were waiting to go into like a supermarket or something. And somebody beeped at someone. We had no idea what had happened. And this lady comes riding along on a bicycle and shouts through the window at my grandma and us 3 little boys in the car. She says, "Don't beep at me neither," like this. Classic case of double negative. But we were all just completely shocked, just like, who is this person? Like, why is she? But she'd gone past on the bicycle. We were just like, what?
So just just getting a bit moody.
Yeah.
On the bike, bit of road rage.
I think she thought we'd beat her.
So anyway, we'd better wrap up now, I think. So guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and your own series, which perhaps we can all take something home and watch something later this evening or at the weekend. So yeah, Broken does look good. Yeah, I'm always up for something with Cillian Murphy in it. So yeah, and thanks for sharing, guys. I'm always worried some people don't like to even chat, but thanks for sharing your ideas and favorites and stuff like that. So we should be having some webinars more often now, perhaps every week. Perhaps Rory will join me again or have another guest. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for topics, feel free to write to me and suggest something. And yeah, if it seems like a good one or it seems popular, then I'll definitely prepare a webinar on that topic and we can do that in future. Okay, so thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you, Rory. Thanks, everyone in the chat, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so I really hope you enjoyed that video. As always, if you found it useful, please give it a like and write a comment below letting me know you want me to do more of these types of videos. Also, if you subscribe to my channel and click the bell notification, it will help my channel grow and you'll be notified on your phone or via email every time I make a new video, which could be really useful for you if you are preparing for an English exam especially. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon. I've been Cambridge English teacher Rory, or Cambridge Rory, from studentlanguages.com. Adios, amigos. Ciao ragazzi, yassas. Somebody told me in Polish the other day, but I can't remember. Please let me know how you say goodbye in your language, and I'll try to remember for my next video. Bye bye.